jump to love, because I'd like to talk about love, and it's always on my mind. I've really stopped looking for someone, unfortunately, because currently where my mind is, it's just like, I don't want to say I've given up, but I've just seen everybody make me promises and make me promises on promises and never really fulfilled. Like, I was always looking for a caretaker, looking for someone that would protect me, take initiative for me, and just be the greatest person they could for me. And that may be selfish, I don't know, but that's just me being honest. And every time I've kind of let myself be led on by someone, they either deceive me or just treat me really, really, really bad. And I'm a very genuine person, and I'm far too emotional, and I care too much, and I've definitely cared too much in situations and been fucked over.
Look, man, this is another installment of Thoughts with T.G.K. Honestly, I just really want to talk about, XXXTENTACION's passing. I've seen a lot of dialogue, I've seen a lot of videos, I've seen a lot of opinions on it. And I feel like a lot of them have gone away from, the topic. Like a lot of these, talking heads have been talking about, everything else other than XXXTENTACION. And I just wanted to get on here, not making it about me per se with my face on the video, but I just really wanted to talk about, X's death and, what the repercussions of it are, So right now I'm just driving. I always drive whenever I get my thoughts. I tend to freestyle a lot whenever I'm driving. Anyway, I'm just gonna talk about it and let my thoughts come to me and just let it out. All right, so for one, I was in Florida, right? I was in Navarre Beach, Florida, hanging out with my family, hanging out with, my younger brother. Being a huge fan of XXXTENTACION, and he's the one that introduced me into his music. When I first heard of XXXTENTACION, I just thought it was some sort of some created character, like I would see the pictures and I would never see the actual real photo of X. I saw XXXTENTACION type of beat, then I would see the cartoon photo of X that everyone else would see. And I never knew who he was, what kind of music he did. And then after my brother put me on to his stuff, I started looking into him and started, digging some of his music or whatnot. And then he released the album 17, and that's when I personally was able to finally relate to dude. I was like, man, he's talking about a lot of stuff on this album that is very relevant in today's climate with today's generation. I'm 29, so my generation's more in the 50 Jay-Z, Lil Wayne discussion. This generation, today's generation, I feel like the younger generation are a lot smarter than where we were at their age. Today's generation is a lot more keen to their emotions. They're a lot more aware of who they are and what they want to be in life, and they don't shy away from, if they're depressed, they let you know that they're depressed, versus my generation where we suppress those feelings. So to me, to know my younger brother, he's been, he hasn't had, the best upbringing, just, on a personal side of things, just our upcoming situation wasn't the greatest, especially for him. And for me to know that X has some sort of credit in turning him around, as much as I tried or as much as my family tried, X had a different way to reaching my brother, in ways that I thought I could reach him. X reached him, you know, and for that I'm always gonna be thankful to X for that. And I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so my current focus is creation and evolution. No matter whether you realize it or not, every day you evolve. Every day you create. You create in thought, you evolve in mind, you evolve as far as your age, you evolve physically, mentally. If you are evoluting physically and you are not evoluting mentally, you are not doing the right thing.
And I'm pretty sure there's going to be tons of more people that are thankful to X for what he did for all of these kids, all of these teenagers, all of these adults like myself. You know, he meant a lot. He meant a lot to a lot of people. Barring, you know, his younger discretions that people tend to bring up a lot. And I'll get to that in a second. You know, I really don't want to veer away from his impact. His impact was huge. Whether it was commercially taken, his impact was just as impactful or more impactful because he never had the machine behind him. He never needed a label to push his music for him. He was first known as a SoundCloud rapper and became one of the hottest rappers on your Spotify, on #1 on the Billboard album charts. Like, this dude did the unthinkable with being open with who he was. You know, he was a very how would I put it? He had a range with his music. He was extremely diverse versus music that I used to listen to growing up with my favorite rappers. My favorite rappers were Shoot, Stab, Kill, and they'll never get outside of that. And when they did get outside of that, they were considered sellouts. Now, these days, X, you listen to X's Question album, and he hits so many different variables when it comes to music. He does a reggaeton song, he does a rock song, a boom bap rap song, he does a mental, you know, speaking on mental issues, something like he very diverse. As an artist, he's extremely creative. He had different ranges just in his voice. He was able to go to different peaks in just his artistry and how he would distribute it and show it off for the masses to enjoy. And for me, like a lot of the kids that and it's weird, like I used to be the kid that would watch a lot of my rappers growing up, and now that I'm older, it's like I watch these kids and they are very influenced. We all are influenced by music and rappers and so on and so forth, and artists, MCs. We are very influenced. But that's hip-hop culture for you. You know, hip-hop is the most influential culture in all of the world. And so for someone like X to come along to be completely different, completely diverse in a way where he could connect to just about anybody, if you just gave him a second, he could connect to you. I mean, I don't see any of my generation rappers on Instagram Live talking to me as if I'm right there. I never felt like, yo, this dude's my friend and I never got to meet him. That's the vibe you got from XXXTENTACION. And the dude was 20 years old, now he's 29, and I felt that way. You know? So when I heard the news, I was on the beach again, enjoying my vacation, saw the news that he was shot. This is before he was pronounced dead, like probably an hour before he was pronounced dead. And I'm there and I'm just like hold up, like no pulse, you know, TMZ reporter, no pulse. And I was concerned. I was just like, all right, you know, he's gonna pull through this shit. But I just had a weird vibe about it. I had a weird vibe that entire day, like personal shit going on. I don't know. I mean, I'm in the middle of vacation, right? I should be enjoying it. For some reason, I just had a bad vibe. News comes out, he's shot. You know, part of me didn't even want to tell my brother, but I was just like, you know, he's got to know. He's got to know. He's got to do what is right here and now. One of it, he's one of his favorite artists. XXXTENTACION and The Weeknd are two of his favorite artists. And say if my favorite artist got shot, I would want someone to tell me, like, yo, your homeboy got shot, or your favorite artist got shot. Look it up. And me and him, we just stopped doing exactly what we were doing at that time. We got we were out of the ocean at the time, but we didn't get back in there. We were just on our phones till our fucking battery died out. It didn't matter. We were connected to the internet and waiting on any kind of report. We're looking at Twitter, looking at Snapchat, looking on Instagram, looking everywhere possible to get some sort of information to find out that XXX is gonna pull through. I made a few posts of him prior to being pronounced dead, speaking on his impact, and hopeful that he could pull through this. And then we suddenly get the news that he was pronounced dead. And obviously, with the stages of grief, you mourn the loss, but at the same time, like, I was in denial. I was like, not XXXTENTACION, like, not him. Like the dude was turning his life around, and he had such a huge impact, and I personally saw the corner he was turning, and I think that's for everybody. I think myself and a lot of my friends were at the old age that we are, or my old age that I am. Like, I am trying to better myself every day, and I think just like a lot of other people, they're trying to better themselves every day. So when you can see that in someone, that they are actually really trying to better themselves, it's not an overnight thing as much as a lot of people expect it to be, because I guess a lot of people have the notion that they're perfect and no one can have imperfections. But no, like, just to see him attempting those changes, to even putting those changes in and making them actual goals that he was trying to achieve, and just doing charity work, giving stuff to kids and shelters, and just all the stuff he was doing, it was a lot more impactful than what I think I could do at the current moment. So I was, internally happy with the turnaround that he was making, because I can't buy 20 PCS4s for kids, but I could donate like $20 here and there. There's just little things like, to be able to see that he was putting his money to a good cause and good uses, and his time that he would get on Instagram Live and speak to his fans. Like, I know people just don't give a fuck about rappers, or they don't give a fuck about famous people or artists or whatever the case may be. But XXXTENTACION never came off as he's famous. It came off as he really cared about people. I mean, he had a quote where he said he cares too much in a world that cares too little. And me personally, I felt that. I feel like I care too much about society, that society don't care at all. And so for me personally, the CX being gunned down in that video, and to know that he's passed on, I'm still in shock. Like, the dude was 20 years old. The dude had so much potential musically, aside from all of the good that he was doing. He has so much potential in his life, man, and it's sad to see that. It's sad to feel it. It's sad to, I guess, experience it from afar. It's like you felt like you saw your homeboy get gunned down. And my condolences go out to every single one of his fans, go out to all of his family members, and go out to everyone that even loved him. Everybody, condolences to everyone. It's truly it's a tragic loss, and not only the hip-hop game, but in what X was going to become in the world. And what he was going to become in the world was going to be something special, and something that we would have held near and dear to our hearts. And so for that, I just want to thank XXXTENTACION for bringing those good and positive vibes to this earth. A lot of rappers or a lot of people say, peace and positivity and all these things, but for some reason I felt like X actually had an impact in that realm, just because how genuine he was with himself and how real he was about how he approached things. So that's my piece. I just had a problem with how the talking heads were. They will talk a little bit about X on the death and how sad they felt. It didn't immediately will veer off track and talk about something completely different. And it's just not doing him justice, you know what I'm saying? Like when Pac and Biggie died, I'm pretty sure nobody was looking at it from a different perspective on what else can we talk about him. No, you were trying to mourn the loss and talk about all the impact that X had and potentially how angry you are that he was gunned down. Like I think that's what we should be talking about, and that's what for the most part a lot of people are talking about. Can I say the talking heads are? No. Can I say 30 to 40% of the social media is? No. And it's like where has the empathy gone? This at the end of the day, this is a loss of life. This is a 20-year-old who was a son to a father, a son to a mother, a nephew to an uncle, and with the news coming out today, a potential father to a baby. Like life is precious, man. Every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every sunrise, every sunset, every moon, every star that you see, every person that you come across, everything that you do in this world is precious. Every oxygen you breathe, every time you wake up and you look at the ceiling, everything about being on earth is precious, because it's the only thing we know. And for someone to not get the opportunity to grow up, to be 20 years old and pass away, it's sad, man. And not only and again, people were like, well, he's the only reason you care because he's a rapper and this and that. No, man, like it could be anybody. Just because it's not on the news doesn't mean if I don't hear about it, it'll affect me. Like I don't want to. Again, my purpose is not to get off the subject, but it's gotta affect you some sort of way. Like, yo, this dude impacted millions of kids, millions of lives, and now these kids that were battling depression, battling thoughts of suicide, battling all these insecurities, battling all these items that you deal with that are mental issues, and they felt like they recovered because of XXXTentacion, to then now see the person that they most gave credit to for that recovery gunned down and killed. I don't know what it feels like to be in those kids' shoes, because I can't say X had that deep of an impact in my life. But say someone that had that deep of an impact in my life, and I can say that he saved my life, man, I don't. You'd be devastated, man. And so it's not only feeling empathy for XXXTentacion, but everyone affected, dog. Like, we don't know the effect that it can have on all those kids that recovered from depression without ever needing a counselor, without ever needing therapy, because XXXTentacion was their therapy. XXXTentacion was their counselor. He was their friend that they never had to pay for. All they had to do was tune in to Instagram Live and watch. All they had to do was watch his charity work. All they had to do was listen to his music. And all you had to do was stream it. You didn't have to go to the store and buy the CD. So for me, I really just wanted to take this opportunity to speak on X's impact, what he meant to so many people, and how much of his legacy will continue to live on, and how much many more people he's going to affect with his passing, unfortunately. Me personally, I wish he would have been able to see this kind of love without the need to be dead, and I think that goes for everyone. Like, everyone that loves you, I'm pretty sure you want to feel that love right now before you're ever dead. And it's a prime example in X's case, and it's what I feel the worst about. Like, I'm pretty sure he knew he was loved, but man, he had a baby on the way. He had his whole life ahead of him, and I can't help but to feel bad, but RIP XXXTENTACIon. It's still weird for me to even say that, but then I do want to touch on something that did leave a bad taste in my mouth, and that's the whole bringing up his past to validate his death. I've seen a lot of comments, I've seen a lot of posts where people are literally joyful that he is dead by gunshots in broad daylight, and they say because of his past that good riddance. That shit pisses me the fuck off. I don't care what you've done. You beat a girl, you fought somebody, or I don't know, if you rape a kid, it's a little different. Yeah, you kind of deserve to get gunned down, dog. But outside of like child abuse, sexual abuse type shit, nobody deserves to die, man. Nobody deserves to die like that. And especially someone who was changing their life around. And especially someone who wasn't necessarily technically convicted of that crime. There's a lot of holes in that story. I'm not saying that the girl's lying. I'm not saying that the girl's telling the truth. But what I am saying is letting the system work its way through. He would have been convicted if he did do it, or he wouldn't have. And the trial is still open. So if he does get convicted or not, it will not change my opinion on whether I feel that, hey, this death was deserving of. That's fucked up. And the one person that I actually engaged on social media, which I regret, female by the way, so I'm always surprised by certain reactions sometimes, and I was surprised by her reaction, how cold she was towards him. And so she just said, I don't give two fucks, happy he's dead. I was happy when Saddam Hussein died or Osama bin Laden was killed. I was happy because, like, if my government wasn't lying to me, you killed all these people. And that's another conversation for another day. Yeah, you deserve death. You know what I'm saying? You don't deserve to breathe this air. You don't deserve to enjoy the luxuries of this life. But for X, something that he did way before he was 20 years old, a real young kid, if he did it, it's a bad thing. You did a bad deal. You're going to be dealt with in the judicial system. It doesn't mean you deserve death. Even the penalty isn't death. The penalty is never death sentence for DV, domestic violence. So for the people that are out there saying like, oh, good riddance, he deserved this and this and that, fuck you. Alright, fuck you. Say you make a mistake, alright? You ran over somebody. You accidentally killed them, but you genuinely accidentally ran over somebody. Do you deserve death? Do you deserve to be killed in broad daylight? Mind you, the killer of XXXTentacion was actually convicted of a domestic violence, but people say he's a great citizen. So, where's the hypocrisy in all this shit? But again, to those people who are happy that X died over a charge he hasn't been convicted for if he did or didn't do it, fuck you. And this particular person on her shit says that she is a person of God. And to me, a person of God does not wish death or is happy at the notion of someone being killed. I think a lot of people need to look at themselves just in this particular case. But I digress. This has been Thoughts with T.G.K. R.I.P. XXXTentacion. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thank you.